When it was completed 2 years ahead of schedule in 1936, the Hoover Dam was the largest concrete structure ever built. This feat of engineering is located around 30 miles from Las Vegas. It was built using over 5 million barrels of concrete, and it stands at over 700 feet tall. The dam is capable of holding back nearly 10 trillion tons of water, and is a lifeline for much of southwestern America's water and power needs. The Hoover Dam provides around 4.2 billion kilowatt hours of electricity per year from the huge generators positioned at either side of the dam, and the massive turbine generators inside the dam that funnel water through and generate the immense power needed across Nevada and California. The dam was made using a gravity arch design and is held in place by the weight of the concrete in the structure, and the pressure of the surrounding water forces the dam into the ground and the walls. Plans for the dam stem right the way back to 1900, as the Colorado River's temperamental nature of flooding and drying up was making for inconsistent farming and living anywhere in the path of the river. It was in 1929 though, at the height of the Great Depression, when the decision was finally made to do something about making the river a more consistent beast for those working on it or in the vicinity of it. Before construction could begin on the dam though, the river had to be diverted through 4 huge tunnels via cofferdams. Cofferdams are created by placing rocks from the blasted out canyon in the way of the water to divert it down the tunnels. Those tunnels were literally blasted out of the mountainside and then layered with 3 feet of concrete to add extra strength. Once the diversion was successful, the area of the dam could then be pumped dry for construction to begin. Workers known as high scalers would risk their lives climbing up and down and dangling on the cliff sides on ropes while drilling into the rock and loading it with TNT or dynamite to blast away the terrain. Once the blasting was done, it was up to the lowest paid workers, also known as the muckers, to get in and shovel the rocks and debris up for removal. Once the area was clear and ready to be built on, it was time to start pouring the concrete. If all the concrete had been poured at once into the shape of a dam, it would have taken over a century to dry and cure. So, a genius plan was hatched. Instead of pouring it all in one go, the concrete was poured in sections, with some as large as 15 square meters in size. They poured one section, let it dry, and moved on to the next. As the height of the dam increased, it made getting concrete up to the correct level before it began to harden more and more difficult. To get the concrete all the way up to the moulds, an overhead cable system was employed with huge buckets that could be filled with concrete and sent anywhere on site for faster pouring. A series of steel pipes networked around the moulds carried water to cool and cure the concrete faster. In total, some 85 million square feet of concrete and 583 miles of cooling pipe was used to construct the dam. Construction of the Hoover Dam brought people in from all over the country to work on the immense project. So many that the government had to build Boulder City in Nevada, especially for the workers. It wasn't an easy ride though. The hours were long and the bosses were tough, not to mention the overt dangers of working on a cliffside with explosives. The scalers who worked on the mountainside invented the very first hard hats by pouring tar on their hats and letting them dry. The idea was so popular that site managers and project leaders had them made by the thousand to protect the workers. The conditions were still pretty grim compared to today, however, and 96 people lost their lives while working on this project. There's even a story involving a father and son who both died on the project. After his dad died working on the site, the son had to get a job working on the Hoover Dam to pay for his funeral, and inevitably suffered the same fate as his father. Today, the dam finds itself in a spot of bother. Due to climate change, the water level of the dam is currently less than 40% of what it's capable of holding. This is a huge problem, as if it dips to less than a third, it will send the southwest US into crisis mode. A number of ideas have been put forward in the hopes of refilling Lake Mead. One of the more out there ideas involves creating an inland sea made from water from the Pacific Ocean, which would be fed by pipes from the coast of California to the designated area of Death Valley. This water would then be desalinated and sent into Lake Mead. Although this once epic construction project has a somewhat uncertain future, it remains as one of the most ambitious engineering projects ever undertaken.